How can you use Figaf in your migration journey from SAP PI Pure to Integration Suite? In this video, I'll show you how you can use the tool, and a lot of these components is actually available for free in our free migration edition. The thing that we generally license in the migration journey is the ability for you to actually migrate scenarios where it's charged per ICO that you migrate. Okay, let's get started. What we see here is the migration overview. Here you can see all the different objects you have in your system. You can see what has been migrated. You can see who did it, with which tool, etc. And you can see if they are in production already. Good. We also have the ability here to do filters, and we have the thing we call tags, and tags enables us to actually search for specific criteria. And here we can see that it shows that we have all of these objects in a way, making it easy for us to understand which scenarios we have in a given scenario. We can add multiple tags to waves or objects to waves, so we can do this filtering. As you can see, we also have a B2B capability up here. This allows you to migrate B2B. It is a lot of the same capabilities, a little more complex to explain, but it does give you a lot of value understanding these scenarios. Okay, so here we have the standard approach. The first thing I want to do is I want to generate a report. Here we can get it with statistics information that has been processed in the last period of time. And if we open this report, we can see the different objects that we have that has been processed. So we generally recommend that you go and freeze the top panel, top row, and you do a data filtering. Then we can go in and we can say, okay, so what is that we have here? We can see the different adapter types we have and see, so what are the ones we have with JDBC or IDOC, whatever it was. Clear filter, here. This is obviously a good report. It can show you what are the adapters that it's running. Are they stopped? Modules that's being used, non-transportable configurations, adapter types. Then we have this thing we call sender tags, and this is an ability to do in-context search for specific criteria. So you can search in the ICO and the message mapping to find specific problems that could arise when you're working on this migration. Here we can see the operation mappings, function libraries, imported archives, and here we then have the receiver side of all of these components. We can see what's been set up as a part of this and how many messages on error has been processed. So that's probably something we need to care about if there's a lot of errors in a given scenario. This is the most comprehensive report that you would ever see about your integrations. It will not give you insight about how much effort it is to migrate. We generally recommend that you go do migration of a few scenarios to get an understanding of the effort of migrating and figure out, do we need to add some more tags to figure out how we can simplify this. If you, for instance, want to create some more tags, we have a list of tags that you can go in and create. So here we have a scenario that is looking for some inner message mapping, that is looking for bricks that have more than 25 bricks inside of a destination. And then we can run this and we can test, and we can go in and we can do a check of an object, and we can see, does this have the problem or not? And this is really a simple way to go find content that is a problem inside of your mappings, and then you'll see it in the report. Okay, so that's the analysis part. Next part is we want to fetch some messages from the PI system. So I have a scenario here that I will call 11 that I always use for this, and we can go in and we can record messages. Demo. Token migration. We can put in message expressions, and we can select either find next messages, or we can just find the last couple of messages that's been processed on this interface. So this looks then inside of the PI system to find relevant messages on this interface, fits the payloads, and we can either use the ICO logging or we can use module logging and log what's going on in the module. We can see we got 2 incoming messages and 6 outgoing messages. We can see the details. And this is because we have a line split in here. So it is a more complicated scenario, but that is okay just to give you an understanding of what is possible to do here. Okay, so now we have created a test case, and you can see it now says 41. Next up is we want to migrate this scenario. And here we will go in and we will select a package here that is called 10. And we'll give it a new name called 10.3a. And we can then select some processes. We have 2 general processes we recommend. One is the local process. And in local processes, you get a flow that looks like this, where you have a main process that splits out per each receiver. And for each receiver, we then have the flow to manage it. And we have an exception branch that is triggered. And we can do some different scenarios in it. We can see the different content that's being set here as a part of this. The other part is we have a pipeline step. And this is what gives you more capability to do migrations of pipeline. So we can see here it sets up a system. We can set up the details about what it is, interface name, all these things you need in the partner profile. We can say if we want to deploy it after go live, and that's okay. We can go in and exclude certain scenarios if we do not want to send it. So if this was an IDOC scenario, we probably do not want to send it because, yeah, that should be handled by the general process. Here we can see the communication channels, templates, how we are migrating these. We deliver some pre-delivered templates, but you can easily create your own migration templates just by taking an existing iflow that works, take that as a template and use that, and that would reduce the effort of doing the migration and doing manual corrections afterwards. Here we can see the XSLT that is being created for this. We can go in and do modifications if you want to. Here we have the ability to do certain criteria, and we'll just want to say, hey, we want to reuse override the shared artifacts. So we do have different ways of handling scripts, so user-defined functions can be converted in an easy way. And here we can see some of the different problems that we need to look into when going through this check. So we'll do a check again. If we do renaming of object, we can also do that. Renaming of pipeline URLs and stuff like that. All this happens inside of this migration, and this makes it easier for you to create something that works for your scenario. Now we can click migrate. This will create all the artifacts in this pipeline. So both the 3 iflows, we would deploy them, trigger them, and we'll create the partner directory entries. So we can now see that everything has been created. If we go here, we can go directly to the iflow that's been created. We can see what content has been set, what it looks like. We can see we are setting some properties on this. And if we look at for instance, the externalized parameters, we can see that this have a few that is relevant for this setup. Good. And yeah, if we look at the mapping, we can see that the mapping contains so both the parameters, and I think we have here the mapping expressions. We can see that there is a script here that has been added. That's a bit strange that it looks. Here we can see the scripts that has been added. We can see some of these lines has been uncommented because they contain something that we do not know how to process. So we just set in a property, which means you can go into trace mode and see, okay, so what is going on here? And then you'll actually be able to see that the value is being set. So if you see this symbol in your mappings, then you know there is something you need to fix in here. Another thing is we can go into our Figaf tool. And here we have an IDE that actually enables us to work on these Groovy scripts. So we have here, let's take the partner name. So we can test it here, we can test it, we can create a test case. So if we create it here, we can run it and it says here, then partner name plus hi. And this is really a simple way to manage user-defined functions and check them quickly. And obviously it's also support string arrays and stuff like that. Complex scenarios. Okay, so this is all good. We have now migrated our scenarios. We can also see that we have created the receiver determination. We have the XSLT that has been defined here. So we have all the details we want. Next up is, so now we have migrated and we want to check, does this actually work? And we can then click on Migrate Test Cases, select the test case we have, say Migrate to CPI. Normally you will create a new test suite for PI and one for CPI. And we can see that in this iflow, select the message from flow step number 2, which is this one. We could change it if we wanted to and say, hey, let's just call it from here. And then we will see. It is what we call a chain, which is something where we send in a message in one object and we get the result in another one. So we can send a message to this iflow. And if we still have this iflow opened, we can see it here. We can see the CPI helper that it fails. Yeah, some socks. I guess this has not been configured correctly. But let's see if we got some test results for this. So we can see here that the message has been processed. We can also see the message browsing here. We can see this iflow fails with the socks error. So we should probably have fixed that. But we can see it's been processed successfully. And we can see the test case was good. So we can see the message here. And this just simplifies your testing logic, making it easier for you to manage the integration, doing end-to-end test, and yeah, everything like that. If you decide not to use the Figaf tool, you can also just go in here and say, this IQ is linked with this specific iflow. And then you have created a new migration from this PI IQ to a specific CPI iflow. And this just makes it possible to do the same migration. So I guess that was already selected somewhere in this this setup. But this gives you the ability to actually see all the details that is going on here. Good. I hope you enjoyed this. We also have a video about the DevOps, and DevOps obviously is a good follow-up on the migration. It also contains this Groovy editor and all these things that just makes it easier for you to operate and go live with your SAP integrations. Hope you liked it and want to try it out. You can sign up for the free migration edition to learn more about how it works for your scenarios. Thanks.